welcome more than 5 million newcomers. As our population continues to grow, we need to ensure people have access to convenient and affordable transit, housing, and the infrastructure they need. Now, more than ever, we need to invest in the highways and transit infrastructure families rely on. We have no time to keep people and goods moving across our province. That's why our government is investing more than $100 billion to transform the way Ontarians live, move, and work. Just last week, the Premier and I announced we're expanding the Hazel-McCallion LRT by building the Mississauga Loop and extending the line into downtown Brampton, making transit more accessible in one of Canada's fastest growing regions and connecting commuters to more opportunities across the GTA. We're also calling on the federal government to agree to a cost-sharing partnership that will deliver two-way, all-day GO Rail service along the Milton GO Rail Corridor, one of the busiest lines on the GO network. And that's why we're doing everything in our power to accelerate the construction of Highway 413 and the Bradford Bypass. Highways that will bring much-needed relief to one of the most congested traffic corridors in North America and shorten travel times by 30 minutes per trip for riders. We've all experienced the frustrations of gridlock. Each minute not spent in the car means another minute you can spend with the people you love. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, we are building a transportation network that will benefit Ontarians for generations to come. Thank you, and with that, I will now pass it over to Minister Khanjin for today's important announcement. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Minister Sequeira, for that kind introduction, and thank you for hosting us in your riding today. It's great to be joined by several other Brampton members of Provincial Parliament, MPP McGregor, MPP Greywall, and Minister Williams. Thank you for the warm welcome. We are here today in the Hydro Corridor of the great city of Brampton to make an important announcement that will support our growing province. Over the next 20 years, Ontario's population is expected to climb by almost 6 million people. Our government, under the leadership of Premier Ford, is building the infrastructure we need for our communities to grow and prosper. We're investing $98 billion over the next 10 years to build new roads, and we got a lot of excitement in the crowd here, highways and public transit, including Highway 413 and the Bradford Bypass. But despite the record speed at which our province is growing, the processes for building critical infrastructure have historically been slow and complex. Too much red tape, too much duplication, often with too little benefit in return. Our government has been working hard to plan for the future and address this need. We're taking a hard look at our policies and processes and have found ways to make them smarter and more efficient. That's why I am here today to talk about the latest changes we're making to get shovels in the ground and finish major projects sooner. Through the improvements that will modernize Ontario's environmental assessment program while maintaining environment protections. Over the past several years, we've consulted extensively with municipalities, Indigenous communities, and key stakeholders on proposals to move more projects to a streamlined environmental process. After considering all the input we received during our consultations, we are now moving forward with these changes that will save time and money by adopting a project list approach to the environmental assessment, which will specify which types of infrastructure projects require the highest level of assessment while allowing more projects to allow a streamlined process. This means that more projects such as new highways, railways, and electricity transmission lines like the ones behind us here could see up to 4 years taken off their building timelines, which is a massive improvement that saves time and money. The project list approach is a shift from the previous focus on who is undertaking the project to what the project is and its potential for environmental effects. Using a project list approach will bring us in line with a number of other jurisdictions, including our federal government, Quebec, and British Columbia, who all follow a similar approach. We're also proposing the creation of a streamlined, time-limited access process for some municipal projects, like a new sewage treatment plant or new drinking water system, which will reduce costs for municipalities. This proposed change, if implemented, would help get municipal infrastructure projects underway sooner, supporting critical upgrades for housing our growing communities that are in need. Streamlined environmental assessment processes already exist for projects like transit and been successfully in place since 2008, which is how we know it's an effective way to get projects done faster. An example of a current project that will be eligible to go through a streamlined environmental process is the new construction of a new railway station in Timmins as part of our plan to bring back the Northlander, connecting Timmins and Cochrane with Toronto. To be clear, some projects will still require lengthier, comprehensive environmental assessments, the highest level of environmental assessment. And with good reason. These are typically more complex, higher impact projects such as large landfills and very large water power facilities. Environmental oversight will continue for projects following a streamlined process or a comprehensive assessment, and will continue to uphold our world-class environmental standards. We're also working in other areas to make Ontario environment laws more clear. For instance, we're proposing to clarify that land is allowed to be acquired through expropriation before environmental assessments is complete. While the law already allows land to be acquired for a project before the proponent is authorized to proceed with it. This clarity will provide a greater certainty to municipalities and other proponents as they plan for future projects to get shovels in the ground sooner. Building the prosperous, vibrant communities you deserve and need is going to take a lot of work. Our government is putting the work in today to ensure that our processes are not needlessly delaying critical public infrastructure, while still requiring consultation, including with Indigenous communities, and maintaining those strong environmental safeguards where and when they are needed most. Thank you. And now, as we are in the City of Brampton, I would love to call on Michael Pacelli, Councillor for the City of Brampton, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Michael Pacelli, Regional Councillor, Wards 2 and 6 in the City of Brampton, Chair of the Planning and Development Committee, also Chair of Credit Valley Conservation Authority. On behalf of Mayor Patrick Brown, Brampton City Council, thank you for having me here today. Thank you to the Honourable Andrea Khanjin, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, for hosting this media event in Brampton. I would also like to acknowledge Minister Zakaria, MPP for Brampton South, Minister of Transportation, for being here today, as well as Andrew Spencer, Executive Vice President, Capital Portfolio Delivery, Hydro One, and Stephen Crombie, Director of Government Relations, Public Affairs, Ontario Sewer and Water Main Construction Association, for being here. So thank you. Brampton is Canada's fastest growing big city. Since 2001, Brampton has grown at a rapid pace, 4 times faster than Canada and 5 times the rate of Ontario's population growth. Over the next 3 decades, Brampton will continue to see rapid growth, transitioning from a population of 700,000 people to over 1 million residents. This level of growth presents many challenges, as well as some unique opportunities. To support this level of growth, the city's new official plan, Brampton Plan, is a forward-thinking roadmap to guiding growth and development in the city and reflects the needs and aspirations of residents. We're working hard to position ourselves for success by investing in housing, healthcare, transit, active transportation, innovation, and critical infrastructure. Brampton Plan implements the principles of our 2040 vision to achieve a sustainable and vibrant future for the city. It also supports our new corporate strategic plan, focus areas, which chart our path forward to be. We are building a viable city while protecting the natural environment. Today's announcement will allow for the fast tracking of critical infrastructure to be built faster, and we greatly welcome this news. Building a modern, inclusive, world-class city where residents establish deep roots and can prosper takes many dedicated partners working in unison. Modernizing the environmental assessment process will help complete our infrastructure projects faster. Brampton has a long-standing track record of developing comprehensive master plans and using the municipal class environmental assessment process to deliver critical infrastructure, which involves partnerships with this province of Ontario, conservation authorities, and public community engagement. I'd like to thank the Honourable Andrea Khanjin and Prabmeet Sakaria for being here today and for your continued support of our great city of Brampton and partnering with us to build for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Peleschi. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of our many transmission corridors in the province. The lines behind us power the industries, businesses, and homes that energize life in this province. The future is bright in Ontario. The province is experiencing tremendous growth thanks to the government's focus on our clean energy advantage and removing red tape. We all benefit from expanding Ontario's electricity network, which will enable industries and businesses to grow and thrive in economic development opportunities. I am so proud of the work that Hydro One is doing as Ontario's largest electricity provider. Hydro One is uniquely positioned to facilitate the transition towards a low-carbon economy and help customers of all types achieve their climate change goals. We are building the new transmission lines in equal partnership with First Nations through our 50-50 First Nations Equity Partnership model, ensuring benefits flow to communities today and for generations to come. We applaud the government for its modernization of the environmental assessment in Ontario. These changes will help Hydro One deliver critical infrastructure projects that support economic growth in the province. Environmental assessments build on the foundation of Hydro One's collaboration with Indigenous communities, municipalities, residents, and stakeholders to ensure infrastructure projects are built reflecting local engagement, interests, and knowledge. With significant new transmission lines being built across this province, these changes will enable us to deliver critical projects while upholding strong environmental protections as we work to energize Ontario for years to come. I'd now like to introduce Stephen Crombie from the Ontario Sewer and Water Main Construction Association. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today for this very important announcement. My name is Stephen Crombie, and I'm the Manager of Government and Public Affairs for the Ontario Sewer and Water Main Construction Association. The OSWCA represents 500 contractor members and an additional 300 manufacturer and supplier members across the province. Those member companies typically operate at the regional level and build municipal core infrastructure, including sewers, water mains, roads, bridges, among many other types of project work. Sewer and water mains form the backbone of urban infrastructure. They ensure that our communities have access to clean and proper sanitation, which are fundamental to public health and well-being. These are also the projects that don't offer any real opportunities for a ribbon-cutting ceremony. These projects deliver the housing-enabling infrastructure needed to achieve the capacity we so urgently need. The projects our members work on ensure that we can flush our toilets and shower and get a clean glass of water when we turn on the taps. In the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, we have underinvested in these types of infrastructure projects. And now we are having to play catch-up to expand our capacity in order to account for the significant population growth we're experiencing in this province. The decision-making, investments, and construction have landed with us today, at a time when these projects are no longer optional. The modernization of environmental assessments for municipal infrastructure is a signal to industry that the province is ready to build. Historically, the EA process for low-risk municipal infrastructure has been cumbersome, time-consuming. These amendments often entail extensive bureaucratic hurdles, red tape, and regulatory complexities that delay much-needed development projects. Such delays not only stifle economic growth, but also deprive communities of vital infrastructure, employment opportunities, and improved standards of living. Moreover, the exorbitant costs associated with redundant environmental assessments pose a formidable challenge for homebuilders. The financial burdens incurred from prolonged assessments divert resources away from actual project implementation, hampering investments in crucial sectors such as infrastructure, renewable energy, and affordable housing. It is essential to recognize that while environmental protection is paramount, the current approach to environmental assessments often fails to strike a balance between conservation and development. By streamlining the EA process for low-risk municipal infrastructure, our government has demonstrated a keen understanding of the delicate balance between sustainable development and the urgent demand for housing. This proactive approach in addressing regulatory barriers reflects a commitment to fostering responsible growth and meeting the evolving needs of our society. So thank you again to Minister Khanjin and Minister Sarkaria for this important announcement today. Thank you.
Hi, Ministers. My name is Fatima Sayed. I'm with the Narwhal. After everything that happened the last year, including the weakening of conservation authorities and wetland protections through Bill 23, and the reversal of green belt and farmland policies, along with other land use development policies, there could be a perception that this move could also harm the environment, that we will be taking land that will be sensitive and needed to address the climate emergency to come. How will you ensure that it doesn't?
Look, if you look at what we're announcing today, it's three items we're adding to the comprehensive project list, which is transmission lines, which you see here behind us, railways, and new highways. As our fellow speakers here said today, this is going to help streamline low-risk projects. And, don't just take it, from the speakers here today. We've got the president of AMO, who represents 444 municipalities, who, said himself, and, he couldn't be here today, so I did want to make sure we read his quote. He said, modernizing environmental assessment processes are critical to enabler for housing, streamlining processes for municipalities to help them build infrastructure like roads, sewers, and water systems more quickly. The initiatives announced today take a risk-based approach to environmental management, removing red tape for straightforward municipal infrastructure projects and focusing resources where they're needed most. AMO looks forward to continuing to work with the ministry on implementation of these details, end quote.
That didn't exactly answer my question, right? There is, serious public skepticism that the government did not prioritize the environment in land use policies of the past. And right now, again, we're talking about streamlining. We're talking about modernizing. These are words that the public has heard before and has meant that environmental protections have been foregone in favor of development. You've just taken over the environment file. I'm wondering if you can give us some specific actions that you're going to take in this process to assure the public that the environment won't be harmed through this.
Again, as we're here today to announce a comprehensive project list or some key infrastructure projects, they're no longer subject to a long comprehensive EA like some other projects which we are talking about today that are going to have more hands and more resources dedicated to the more complicated projects, which are still going to have their due diligence done. But the streamlined process, all we're talking about today is environmental assessment. They're still subject to Endangered Species Act and other planning approvals.
Hi, Michael Cole, CBC News. On behalf of Mike Crawley and Tyler Cheese, is it fair to Ontario residents' private property rights for the government to make it easier to expropriate land?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, what you're referring to is we're just clarifying what's already in existence today, simply clarifying it so there's certainty, and they're still going to be requiring environmental assessment, but it's simply a clarifying element.
Okay. And second question, if it is so important to streamline approvals for these big projects, why is the government also mixing in a bunch of completely unrelated things into the bill, like freezing the cost of driver's license renewal, etc.?
Look, I think it's clear this is the government that really wants to get things done. I think everything in the bill complements a growing community and the growing needs of Ontarians.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.